because I've made a couple calls about this, like why Justin Fields, why is he falling, this and that. One, I have heard that he is a last guy in, first guy out type of quarterback, like not the maniacal work ethic. And then the second thing is, where is his desire to go be a great quarterback? I think that there's a desire to be a big-time athlete from what is expressed to me, but where is his desire to go be a great quarterback? And to be great, you got to be willing to find the things that you're not good at and just freaking grind on them.
What I'm saying is Lamar Jackson has yet to prove that he is an elite passer. And if you are not an elite passer, you are not an elite quarterback, period.
There's an unreasonable double standard for black quarterbacks at all levels of football. For as long as I can remember, African American quarterbacks have been criticized on aspects of their character such as leadership, work ethic, and intelligence, as well as attributes of the position such as throwing ability and pocket presence. No matter their performance on the field, the media continues to frame these athletes as freaks of nature with a God-given ability to play, while discounting all the hard work that they've put in to perfect their craft. In 2016, Lamar Jackson was awarded the Heisman Trophy after putting up one of the best seasons we've ever seen from a college football quarterback, both through the air and on the ground. Yet, just a year later when he declared for the NFL draft, dozens of people around the league were questioning whether or not he could take his game to the next level for any of the 32 NFL teams, many of which were desperate for a quarterback. When comparing Lamar Jackson to the other four quarterbacks in the 2018 NFL draft class that were projected to go in the first round, former longtime NFL general manager Bill Polian said that Jackson should consider a switch to the wide receiver position. Even though Jackson had proven himself time and time again as a more than capable passer, Polian still viewed him as too short, too little, and believed he did not have the same accuracy that the other quarterbacks did, who were all white. Then, just a few years later in 2021, the same thing happened to Ohio State quarterback Justin Fields. Leading up to the NFL draft, former NFL quarterback Dan Orlovsky made an appearance on the Pat McAfee Show. Orlovsky shared thoughts that he had heard from around the NFL, questioning Fields' character and his leadership, and how badly he truly wanted to be a great quarterback. This explicit racial discrimination and bias starts with the way that the media labels these quarterbacks. In scouting reports, many quarterbacks are described as an archetype, such as dual threat or pocket passer. However, often these archetypes are given to quarterbacks just based on their race. For example, many black quarterbacks are said to be dual threat quarterbacks, meaning they can kill you through the air, but are even more dangerous on the ground with their legs. However, not every quarterback fits into that stereotype. Here are both former and current NFL quarterbacks talking about how being labeled as a dual threat quarterback actually hurt their valuation coming out of college.
I feel like the QB position is the only position with two criteria, dual threat and pro style. Look, there's no run tight end or pass. One criteria, tight end. And for some reason, when you're putting a dual threat, the first thing they think of is, oh, he can't throw. But a lot of times it's just based off the situation you're in. You know what, I think back to my time at Tennessee, when I first came on, O-line struggling. So we know what all colleges do now. They start implementing the quarterback run series because they think scheme-wise, the defense can't account for the QB and the running back and their run fits. So, QB starts selling that scheme just because his team starts doing successful, and the first thing they say is, oh, he can't throw, he's a run-first guy. But at the end of the day, it's more the scheme that's giving him that connotation rather than his true skill set. And it's crazy how it's viewed as a disadvantage when it's really an advantage. If you can do both, you can throw, you can pass, then you provide more to the table, you give the offense more balance, and it's tough for defense to defend. So
we got penalized for being athletic, for being too athletic, for being too fast, for being able to move around too much. I know that's the way they looked at me, and when I would have my pro days in college where we run 40s and that for the pros, I wouldn't run my fastest times. I didn't want them to know how fast I really
play
was.
Receiver or something like that.
Well, they already wanted to do that. So you would give them even more ammunition if I was more like a 4 or 5 guy when I was in college, but all my times would be like 4.65, 4.6. You know, to make sure that I wasn't too fast to be moved to another position, because that's what they wanted to do anyway.
Unfortunately, as I mentioned earlier, these criticisms don't just stop there. The media continues to criticize many of these African American athletes for aspects of their own character, both mental and physical, such as their intelligence, their appearance, their leadership, and where their talent comes from. All black athletes are aware of these criticisms and let it affect how they have to present themselves to the media. Here's Lamar Jackson, LeBron James, Maverick Carter, and others discussing their own personal experiences with these racial stereotypes.
There he is. By the way, he knows because when they told him he wasn't a real quarterback.
That's right.
Right, real talk.
Wait, what happened?
He had one of the most storied, successful, collegiate careers at quarterback anyone's ever had. And the pro teams are asking him if he wants to switch positions to play something else.
It's very disrespectful.
But why did they ask you that?
I have no idea.
Because
he don't fit the description.
Yeah, you know.
You do know why.
Well, the truth is, there's a lot of history with them not wanting black guys to play quarterback. It started with, they can't think quick enough. This going way back, 70s, 80s, and it's dying
Every day
off.
y'all give me more reasons to.
It's dying off, but it's still there. It's still there. That's why I need that championship.
The fact that these players have so little control over labels about themselves is absolutely egregious. And the only way to solve this problem starts right at the top. One of the 6 principles of persuasion is authority, meaning that those with authority are much more likely to be able to convince a general population of their opinion. It's a complete failure of the system that those who are considered to have authority don't even really need to prove it. It can just be completely perceived based on their position. And most of the times, these stereotypes start with the play-by-play broadcasters who are commentating the athletes' live games. And although the gap is closing, still 70% of sports broadcasters are white, and over 80% of them are men. Let's take a look at this series of plays in the Ravens' 2019 matchup against the San Francisco 49ers.
Jackson on the fake, nobody home. Lamar Jackson inside the 10, and it'll be 1st and goal. Jackson backs out into a shotgun. Jackson gonna keep it, running left, looking in, touchdown Baltimore.
To the average fan watching on the Fox broadcast, those just seem like 2 great plays by an amazing player. Yet, anyone listening to the 49ers radio broadcast would have heard color commentator Tim Ryan give a more controversial take.
When he's his dark skin color with a dark football, with a dark uniform, you could not see that thing.
Here, Ryan was effectively saying that the fake handoff only worked so well for Jackson because of the color of his skin. The 49ers organization soon suspended Ryan for a few weeks, and although that's a good step to discourage that behavior from him and his peers, it does little to change why Ryan believed that that line of thinking was acceptable in the first place. Ryan's comments here say less about him or Lamar Jackson, but more about sports media culture as a whole. In 2020, Dr. Rashawn Ray, a sociology professor at the University of Maryland, published a study where he analyzed over 50 March Madness games and over 2,700 comments from the broadcasters in those games. He aimed to discover if the skin tone of the athletes affected how the broadcasters talked about them, both on their word choice and of the way they described their ability. Ray took into account a lot of factors of each athlete besides just their skin tone. He also factored in the player's performance, the game state that the call took place in, the player's recent performance, and the player's expectations for that game. Despite all these different factors, Ray still found that the player's skin tone had a large effect on how the commentators talked about them. On similar plays performed by both white and black athletes, Ray found that the announcer's word choice to describe the white players was more positively connotated than the word choice used on black players. Whites were described as clever, crafty, and in control of the game. Yet for the black athletes, words such as sneaky were used, painting a negative picture for those players. Otherwise, most of the talk centered around the black athletes was focused on their appearance and other physical attributes such as their athleticism, speed, and strength, despite the white players also having similar appearances and athleticism. Now you may be asking yourself, besides sounding bad on national television, what's really the problem with these broadcasters saying those things? The real problem with this is that the manifestations of this racism are shaping the stereotypes about inferior intellectual ability or better physical performance in certain sports. That really comes into play with the impressionable young athletes that are just starting out their sports journey. To gain insight on how this issue affects more than just the athletes themselves, Pat Ferrucci, a researcher at Colorado University Boulder, conducted an experiment to see how people would react to the language used by sports media.
So you have all these studies that show black and white athletes are described differently, but what effect does that have? Is that actually changing how audiences view athletes?
Yeah, exactly. And so what we've done, we get photos of anonymous athletes, people that nobody would know, and that they've been pre-tested to be the same in terms of what people label them as physical or intelligent or attractiveness, all these things that could impact how people judge somebody, right? So we get them all on kind of an equal baseline with just random people doing that. Then we run experiments. So what we do is, for example, one group will see a photo of a white athlete with a story underneath it that basically talks about how intelligent they are. Right? I mean, let's say they're a quarterback. It'll say about how intelligent of a quarterback they are. The other group will see a photo of a black athlete, but the exact same paragraph about intelligence. And so, to put this quite simply, right, then you ask them to rate the person on intelligence. And you would think that our groups would rate them as the same intelligence. But that's not what happens, right? So consistently, every single experiment we've run, people rate the white athlete as higher in intelligence than the black athlete, even though they have no information besides what we've given them. And again, we can look at this in a lot of different ways, and we've done it in, we've changed the race of participants. We've done a lot of different things, but it always turns out the same.
You're saying that when you have white participants and black participants looking at these images, those two groups come to the same conclusions?
Yeah, it's actually a little bit different. When we've done one experiment where we basically only sampled black participants, and we found that black participants actually stereotyped even stronger. So they found white athletes even more intelligent. And that's the real insidious kind of effect, right? That's what we call the spiral of stereotyping. If you're a group that's constantly stereotyped, you actually start to believe it more than others do.
So basically what you're saying is this is part of our culture, day in and day out. We're watching these games, we're hearing these broadcasters, we're internalizing these stereotypes, and it trickles down to other aspects of our lives.
As we can see from Ray and Ferrucci's experiments, skin color is a major factor in defining people's opinions of others in this social world. In order for us to form a truly fair and equal society, these stereotypes of inferiority have to be eliminated. Circling back to Dr. Ray's article, he proposes a solution that I completely agree with. Dr. Ray implores all athletic and media organizations to develop a more diverse and inclusive culture. This includes the athletic staff, the media, reporters, even the players, to help truly decide what gets broadcast to the outside world. By developing this culture, the quality of coverage among all athletes and any athletic organizations will improve. These negative stereotypes of inferiority won't be developed, especially in our young athletes and aspiring media. Furthermore, as we can see from the internalization of these stereotypes, player performance will also improve with the elimination of these stereotypes. With the majority of sports media being dominated by white males, forming a more diverse culture will go a long way to reducing these stereotypes, opinions, and labels of these African American athletes. Some of the best quarterbacks in the league are African American. Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, and Lamar Jackson are all in the MVP race, with multiple organizations handing over the keys to the franchise to these black quarterbacks. It means we are taking steps in the right direction, but we still have a long, long way to go.
Got a chance. Second down and 10. Montgomery was in. Getting cut off in the wake right there is Jackson on the fly, and he's got an open receiver with a nice catch.
Third quarter dominated by Pittsburgh, but now Jackson trying to change things. He's got a man open at the 3rd and 16. Nope, they're going to throw it. Jackson hits his man, Seth Roberts.
It's 3rd and 8. Here they come. Williams up the middle. Bang as he throws. And he got a touchdown out of it.
Always a counter to what someone's doing. You just hate it when you find it on Monday and not during the game. Jackson, look at that cut. Look at the Ravens down the field. And it's caught by Dixon. Dixon roaming free in the secondary and down to the 10.
And this is the point where you get uncomfortable if you're a Chargers fan.
You wanted to know when, Tony? It's right here.